Hello, today we're talking about content. That is, the words and images that you will design for your web page as part of your design portfolio. Of course, the lessons that you learn as part of this process will apply much more broadly, and you'll find them useful in many of the professional communication roles that you'll have over a career. Content can be any number of things, words and images, as I've mentioned, but also video, audio, and other rich media. Content also covers photographs, maps, and graphics. Social media posts can be considered content, so can curated lists, downloadable files such as reports, and even games. Basically anything that fills the space that is your web page or website. But not all content is the same. The structure, tone, and style of any professional content is determined by the goals of the publication or organisation and the audience it needs to speak to. Take an organisational website such as UQ as one example. Its website has a range of different types of content that address the different information needs of its various publics. For instance, it explains its research to other academics and prospective students. It lists upcoming events for internal and external audiences. It offers a database of experts for the media, and it has a range of information and tools specifically designed for students. By contrast, a news website predominantly carries text-based stories and still images alongside video, graphic, and social media feeds. Its content is designed for specific but very broad audiences generally, and it is also underpinned by core journalistic values and principles. That is, it aims to serve a social goal. What these two different websites do have in common, though, is an emphasis on storytelling as the main way to carry the information. Storytelling is an inherently human practice. We've been doing it for thousands of years. We tell all types of stories, factual, fictional, and a mix of everything in between. In our course, we're interested in professional writing, and this is predominantly factual. Today, we'll draw on storytelling approaches from strategic communications and from journalism. As you've probably worked out by now, professional communications and journalism have a lot in common. Both are interested in communicating information to people about issues or things that impact them. Both practices work from an evidence base, and both tend to use similar narrative structures, which we'll get to shortly. Where they differ is in the interests that they serve. Where public relations often tell stories for a vested interest, such as an organisation, a company, or a political party perhaps, journalism's core aim is to serve the public interest, and so it aims to work independently of vested interests and perform a check and balance on democratic processes. These underlying goals impact the way stories are told and what information is privileged in that storytelling. However, in both practices, authenticity is crucial. To be authentic, a story needs to be credible, realistic, and tangible. Stories also need to speak to their intended audiences. We spent time early in our course identifying publics. The insights you gained from that process will be very valuable now in identifying the right stories to tell them. Here are 4 key ingredients you'll need to tell stories: raw material, a plot, characters, and an appropriate structure. I'll touch on each of these now. Having good stories to write depends on having good evidence, and this requires research. We covered research methods earlier. Through research, you want to establish facts, understand perspectives, and gather insights into the experiences of people. Once you've got that information, you can then start thinking about how to work it all into a narrative. I can't emphasize enough the importance of the research phase of your project. What you learn by reading, observing, and talking to people will inform all aspects of your media design work, and it will help you achieve original designs that speak directly to the issue and the public you have identified. Success depends on strong research. Analysis of your raw material will help you identify potential story plots. There's a very good paper on plots as part of this week's readings. In it, Kent identifies 20 common story plots that can be used in public relations. Most of them will be familiar to you: adventure, discovery, forbidden love, escape, quest, rescue, for example. I'm sure you've all seen films, read books or news stories that follow these types of plots. When you're working with your material, have these story plots in mind. Is there something in your evidence that can help you tell a story around a mystery or pursuit, for example? Is there an underdog who's risen to the top? Is there another story of transformation, sacrifice, or excess? Identifying these kinds of plots can help you work out what the story is. Characters are another essential part of storytelling. In professional communication, they are often referred to as sources. They are the people whose experiences communicate messages to others. Again, the research phase of your project should have helped you identify these people and record their perspectives. Through interview, you want to capture the voice and perspective of your characters. Seek out a range of people, those with first-hand experience of a situation, experts who can give you a measured, objective view, and also consider the vested interests and authority figures. These are often the people who can influence policy or practice and can change situations. Characters provide the human side to your story and are often the vehicle for explaining why we need to care about something. Characters also help you achieve a sense of authenticity. Always aim to tell real stories about real people. Finally, structure. This is how you put all these components together. There are various story structures, and today I'll touch on 3 common ones. First, the inverted pyramid. This is a design principle that those of you in the journalism program will be familiar with. It is used in news writing and is deceptively difficult. It evolved in the US in the 19th century and demands narrative is organised in order of importance. Greatest news value at the top. It's good for some things. It's efficient, it focuses on facts and so facilitates objectivity. It's easily edited for length, and it's great for hard or breaking news. It's a really awesome thing, and even if you're not a journalist, your written communication will benefit greatly if you learn how to use this structure. But while it is awesome, it's not good for context, colour, or complex narratives. Here you might want to use a different approach, a circular narrative or an hourglass perhaps. The circular narrative is more common in feature or literary writing. Circular narratives cycle through the story and end back where it originated. Rather than provide a clear conclusion tying together the remaining pieces of a story, a circular narrative will provide closure through a return to the opening material. The hourglass structure is better for arguments or analysis. It is common in academic writing. The hourglass starts broad and outlines a problem. It then focuses in on a particular example, explaining and investigating that. It then broadens out again and relates that instance back to the bigger issue. Any of these styles will work for your content. What they all demand, though, is that you have a story to tell and you have facts, anecdotes, quotes, and other evidence to use to tell it. Most stories have a beginning, a middle, and an end. The beginning, or the lead, if we use a journalistic term, refers to the first sentence or two, which are crucial if a reader is going to continue with your story. Ricketson, whose book is listed as a reading for this module, suggests 5 approaches to writing the lead: summary, suspense, descriptive, anecdotal, and surprise. A summary lead captures the key elements and information and puts it all in one concise paragraph. A strong news introduction is written like this. It's very effective, but it can take some practice to get right. A suspense lead is almost the opposite of news writing. Rather than give you all the important information straight up, it builds up a narrative or a contrasting picture before delivering the key information or the key narrative. A descriptive lead is the most novelistic, according to Ricketson. It aims to draw a reader in by depicting a scene. An anecdotal lead tells a mini story rather than setting a scene. Anecdotal leads can be a compelling way to start a story. And a surprise lead aims to shock or tease the reader. Whatever approach you take, make sure your introduction is simple, on point, and grabs the reader's interest. You don't want to lose them after the first sentence. How you start your story will play a big part in how you then go on to tell it. There are no hard and fast rules for this, but again, Ricketson offers a few principles that will help. First, keep related material together. This means addressing each topic separately. This is about creating a narrative logic for your reader. Second, let what you've written already suggest what to write next. This is about flow. As you reveal information, new questions will arise, so be sure to answer these then, so your reader is making connections as they go. Next, try to isolate material from one source in one place. Certainly, your source material may address more than one aspect of a story, but if you can, try to deal with source material methodically. And finally, digress often, but do not digress for long. This is about introducing observations, anecdotes, and colour, all the things that can bring richness to your storytelling. Do this, but don't get carried away with it. The basic structures we looked at earlier suggest a few different types of endings. Here are 4 options. Rounding up and rounding off is a way of summarising the key themes of the story. If you're going to use this approach, be sophisticated about it. We don't want to see sentences that begin with something like, "in conclusion." A circular ending returns to something that was introduced in the beginning of the story. This is a neat way of finishing a story, and you'll often see it in newspaper feature writing. Looking ahead involves projecting this issue or theme into the future in some way. And spreading out is often what happens in academic writing. Here, an article points out the implications of what is discovered or what new questions have been raised as a result. If you spend some time studying newspapers, news websites, corporate sites and magazines, you'll begin to notice some common story types. These include news stories, which tell us something new, investigations, which aim to delve into an issue and often grapple with the underlying cause. This might be about people or systems, for example. Feature stories are normally about softer issues, people or places, for example. These often have strong characters and plenty of colour. Results or rankings are another common story approach. Think about corporate results stories or sports events. And backgrounders. You'll need to be careful that this type of story doesn't repeat everything we already know about something. Make sure you have a good reason to write a story that explains context, and that reason is clear to the reader. Interactive media has given rise to a range of new types of content. These are just some of the common types of content that you will see on websites. Some of these might be worth considering as a way to interact and engage with your audience, and you are welcome to incorporate them into your web page design. Your wireframe, for instance, should include your stories and images, but you might also include a discussion forum or a user-generated image gallery, for instance. If you do go down this path, make sure you use labels and shapes that make it clear to us what you envisage. And be aware that this type of content does not count as original. What it may do is help you articulate and communicate how you plan to engage with your audience. In our course, we're interested in original content produced by you in response to your issues and targeting a specific audience, your public. We are looking for crafted stories. Yes, you can include lists and aggregated content, but this is not what we will mark. We will mark your crafted, original work. This includes the images you use. Yes, you can source icons and other items to indicate menus and interaction on the wireframe, but you must produce 2 original images to accompany your stories. These can be photographs, graphics, or data visualizations. Please do not submit audio or video. Most importantly though, your content needs to speak to your chosen issue and your chosen public. Please, draft your stories early and take them to class for feedback. That's it for this week. Good luck with your content, and we'll see you in class.